I'm Dr. Andrew Wilner, author of The Locum Life, a physician's guide to locum tenens. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Nichole Paskett. Nichole is a staffing agent for one of the largest and the oldest staffing agencies, CompHealth. You know, when I wrote the book, I got a lot of opinions from physicians who had worked locum tenens, but I didn't have a whole lot of input from staffing agents. And it seems to me, since a staffing agent is the key person in the whole process, that it would be valuable to hear from Nichole. So, welcome, Nichole.
Hi, thanks for having me, Dr. Wilner.
Oh, my pleasure. I think all of the viewers will be interested. I have a lot of questions that I put together. But first, how did you even get interested in becoming a staff agent?
So I am coming up on almost 13 years of being with CompHealth as a physician consultant and recruiter. And I actually had a former leader of mine, Elisa, reach out to me, and I was like, what is this concept of locums? I'd never heard of it before. I'd heard of traveling nurses, and I had no idea that this was a thing. So when she introduced me to it and I got my foot in the door here, I was sold. I felt like I could make a small impact, be a small piece of the puzzle in bringing medicine to communities that need it most. So it'll be 13 years in July, and I can honestly say I love what I do.
Oh, well, that's fantastic to hear. Now, what is your job exactly? What do you do?
I personally work with neurologists like yourself. Um, Previously, I also worked with physiatrists, those two specialties, but now just solely neurology. I work with physicians in finding them locum tenens positions and ultimately sometimes permanent, um, and help staff partner up with members of my neurology team in finding jobs for those positions, and then also finding positions for opportunities that come to us as far as short-term weekend stuff up to permanent.
So tell me what kind of doctor works locum tenens?
Gosh, it can vary. It really, honestly, I work with anyone that's still in residency. I start talking to residents in even year 2 or 3, that start literally the day they finish their residency program, no break, up to those that are in part-time retirement. And I have been able to work with, anyone from, uh, I've worked with a couple physicians throughout their entire medical career once they finished their training, up to where they're at right now. So I think the longest locums assignment I've had running has been 8 or 9 years with
Wow,
the same
so even though
place.
locums is supposedly a kind of a temporary job, it can
Yeah, it's
actually last a long time.
Oh, for sure. I feel like the old way of thinking with locums being completely temporary has changed, where locums really is like, your book is called The Locum Life. Like, it is their life and it's their lifestyle. That's their career path, is working full-time locums. And full-time could be to them equivalent to a full-time position, or 2 weeks a month neurohospitalist type of position for my specialty specifically, but it varies. So that's what's so great, and why I love it is it helps physicians find what works best for them. So it might be just a couple weekends, it might be vacation coverage, but then it could end up leading into something full time, or it could be full time for a couple of years just until they've got a non compete that's up, or until they figure out, where do I want to practice? Do I want to be in an academic setting? Do I want to be in rural North Carolina as opposed to New York City like I originally thought? So That's
Right.
what
One
makes
of
it.
the surprises that I had when I did
Yeah.
locums is that there were academic positions. That
Oh yeah.
never even occurred to me. And that turned out to change my career in a very positive way. So you've talked to a lot of physicians on the phone.
Yes.
And what makes in you're listening and what the
Yeah.
physician's saying, you're asking a lot of questions. It's somebody new. So
Hmm.
what makes a physician a good candidate for locums as opposed to somebody where you're thinking to yourself, oh, I don't know if this is going to work out? What are the qualities of
Yeah.
a good
Yeah.
locums doc?
Yeah. Like you mentioned in your book too, locums isn't for everyone. You've, I think for me, there are a lot of important factors and good qualities to have, but the number one thing that comes to mind is flexibility. So being flexible to an ever-changing, adapting situation. Again, to reference, I've got it right here, your book, you're parachuting in literally to, not quite literally, I should say, to a new situation, and you have to adapt. And I think uh, that's something that isn't always natural to everyone. And so I think being adaptable to the administration, the way that they run their program, to little hiccups that might come along the way. So I think just being flexible, and another important thing is being a good communicator, and not just with the staff, but also with your recruiter and the company that you're working with, communicating what your needs are so that we can ensure that those are being met. And I think those are a couple of the most important factors. But yeah, I can, and I'll be honest with physicians as we're speaking, um, especially if they like the idea of locums, but they're just not sure they can go with the flow and go with, you know, uh, being as flexible as um, locums requires. I'll let them know, this might not be right for you at this point in your life, and it could be in a different time in your life. So.
Well, I concur 100%. Personally, I had to learn to be a whole lot more flexible than I think I was, the way I was born
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to
Don't we all?
adapt. So people being people, there are
Yeah,
problems that can happen once you get to an assignment, something isn't right. Does
yeah.
the staffing agent have a role? Do you participate in trying to work those things out, or is it
Yeah.
just up to the doc on site to sort it out? How does that?
No, that's really a big benefit in working with an agency, is that just like you have your specialty, that's ours. We are used to these situations coming up, or if there's a problem during orientation and you feel like you need a little bit more, or scheduling might be a little different, or you thought you weren't going to see this type of patient and you end up having to do admissions when that wasn't part of what you thought you were originally going to do. Instead of just, we're not going to leave you high and dry, and you're with your rep throughout your tenure with CompHealth. And we try to navigate and provide solutions as quickly as possible. And yeah, we're here to be a consultant for you and to ensure that things run as smoothly as possible, so things can continue. You can do what you're good at and what you're there for, to provide patient care.
And I know that you have the other benefit is backup for travel services.
Oh
Because I
yeah.
know my first assignment, I was stranded at the airport at midnight when they canceled my
Oh
plane, and I was supposed to work the next day. I
yeah.
think it was over a weekend. So I had no way of really contacting the people at the hospital to tell them, hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to be late. So I called the agency and I had a 24-hour travel number, and I said,
Yeah.
okay, you got to get me on the next flight and tell them I'm going to be late and it's not my fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they helped. They helped.
Good. Well, and we have, just like you have an on-call person, we have an on-call person, we have the 24-hour travel available, but also I personally like to make sure all of my physicians have my cell phone. They can call me anytime, day or night, because things happen, especially if you're headed out to rural South Dakota, right?
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, and then same with hotel, or any other random issues that come up. It's not uncommon for things to come up that are out of our control, and we can provide you a solution as quickly as possible.
Nichole, this has been really great information, and I want to thank you. And it's been such a great interview that we're going to continue it in part two. So I'm going to end here and stay tuned for part two. Thanks very much for joining me on The Art of Medicine. I'm Dr. Andrew Wilner, author of The Locum Life, a physician's guide to locum tenens. See you next time.